everyone, welcome back. So last time we just practiced LOS, and before that we already tried looking through the FPV goggles and getting that kind of spatial awareness. Now it might be worth your while to go back to that first lesson about spatial awareness, because today we are going to be flying FPV for the first time. Now we are still going to be using self-level mode or angle mode, but today we are going to start flying forward. And so if you haven't mastered flying LOS yet, then I do not recommend that you go through with this. And if you do not if you haven't done the spatial awareness drills, or haven't practiced looking through FPV goggles, I also don't recommend you do this. So first things first, safety first. Alright, so you have to look for a field where you have at least maybe 20 meters around 20 meter radius around you, or maybe just in front of you at least, or from 45 degrees to the left, 45 degrees to the right, 20 meters in front of you, because we are just going to be moving forward right now. It might seem very, very simple, but it's actually it actually needs some some practice. So we are going to go through those drills. So again, make sure that everything, that there is nothing around you. So I'm gonna show you how to do this both in a simulator and with an actual quad. Many of the pro FPV pilots also don't recommend you having OSD, but for this one, I actually recommend that you have at least that center thing in your feed, or the what do you call this, the horizontal bars on the side. We will be using this as a guide on our angle of attack, or the angle at which our quad is facing at. Eventually you would want to remove this from your OSD, because you'll get used to looking at the live FPV feed and judging from just by looking at the at the video feed. But for now, we'll keep that turned on in your OSD, and then do these drills. All right. So without further ado, let's get into it.
We're going to start off with a simulator like lift-off, such as this one that I'm using, and starting it up in free flight mode. If you notice on the upper left corner of the screen, I've set the quad to self-level or angle mode, and that the camera is tilted upwards, which is typical in a mini quad. You're not going to need to pay attention to any of the on-screen display elements, because a typical mini quad won't have a compass or altitude reading or speed reading. But you just need to pay attention to the center reticle, the artificial horizon, and the horizontal sidebars. Now what we're going to be doing in these drills is just popping up our quad, tilting it forward and maintaining that attitude, and then just controlling our when our quad starts gaining speed and gaining momentum. What we're going to be really practicing is that throttle control to keep your quad at a particular height or altitude, and trying to maintain that altitude all throughout that forward flight. So we're just gonna we just need to pop up our quad, maybe push the throttle around 1/3 to maybe less than 50%. Pitch our quad forward so that the artificial horizon lines up with the next line in the horizontal sidebar. And once our quad starts moving, we just need to maintain to keep adjusting our throttle so that it maintains a steady altitude and it's not going up and down too much. Now once we reach the end of the field, we level off by aligning the center reticle with the artificial horizon. And if you are not yet that used to flying, you can just pull down on the throttle stick so that it lands on the ground, and then just lift your quad back up in the air, and then using your left stick you can yaw 180 degrees so that it points to the opposite end of the field, and we are just going to do the same thing all over again. So right now, again, we're just maintaining that same attitude of our drone, slightly pitched forward, while trying to we keep adjusting our throttle. So most of the movement that on our sticks is going to be on our left stick, and we're trying not as much as possible not to move the right stick, which controls the pitch, and almost no adjustments on the roll at all. So here I landed to the quad again and reset. So that's what, again, we're gonna bring our throttle up to just about less than 50%, pitch our quad forward, and then try to maintain level flight by adjusting the throttle while keeping the attitude of the quad the same. So once you reach the end of the field, you can level off, and then you can just land your quad, and then you can just pop it back up, use your yaw stick and flip it 180 degrees to the right, and then just do that again. Pitch your quad forward, and then not too forward though, you don't want to crash, and then you just try to adjust your throttle so that it maintains a steady altitude. So in this simulator, you can use the hay or the bale as an altitude reference point, so that you know we're just trying to fly just above all those hay or whatever you call them, and we're trying to keep that around 2 meters off the ground. If you want to practice this on a real quad, you just need to set your OSD in beta flight so that it also displays the center reticle, the artificial horizon, and the horizontal sidebars. Though you might notice that the artificial horizon as well as your actual quad might be a little bit twitchier in real life, and you're going to have to be battling elements such as wind when you're actually flying your mini quad. So here I have my race quad Damon, and I also have it on angle mode or self-level mode, and I've also set up my on-screen display to display the artificial horizon and the horizontal sidebars. Now so we're going to be doing exactly the same thing. We're just going to be pitching forward and controlling our throttle. Pay no attention to those turns for now. You just want to practice forward movement. Alright, so that's what I'm doing after the turn. I'm just pitching forward and then trying to maintain throttle here in stability mode. Now once you've mastered angle mode, you want to practice this as well on acro mode. Now the main difference is in angle mode, you're going to be holding your right stick all throughout on the same angle. But with acro mode, once you've achieved the desired attitude, you're going to let go of that stick and bring it back to center, and your quad will maintain that forward angle. So in some ways it's a little bit easier, but getting started it gets a little bit complicated. So if you're not yet used to acro mode, then practice this first with angle mode, because what we need to master first and foremost is throttle control. So that's switching between level mode and acro mode is it's not really so important at this point. All right, so we're just going to be doing that. Pardon my OSD, for some reason it was acting up on this day. So once you reach the end of the field, you pull back, you level off, and then you turn 180 degrees with your yaw stick and do the same thing. There is a tutorial in liftoff called Throttle in Pitch, but I found that the explanation was a little bit too brief, and it's a little bit too sudden to have gates on this level. So if you are just starting out and then you're going into this tutorial, then you're gonna probably just crash into those gates or miss them completely. So if you haven't done those drills, then you might have a little bit more difficulty attempting this tutorial. But once you've mastered that, you'll find that we're doing pretty much the same thing. We're pushing our throttle up into the air, pitching a little bit forward, and then once our drone gets momentum, we're just moving the throttle stick up and down to control our altitude. So in this case it's a low gate, so we just need to lower our throttle, and in this case we just need to raise it up a little bit so that we gain a little bit more altitude, and then we're just maintaining that altitude, and then just maintaining that pitch forward. We're not touching the yaw as much as possible, and we're not touching the roll. So see, once you've practiced those drills in free flight, this level is going to be much easier, and it's also going to be very useful for practice. Now once you try it a couple of times in angle mode or in self-level mode, you also want to try this in acro mode as well. So once again, we lift our quad up into the air, less than 50% throttle, and then we just pitch forward a little bit and just use our throttle to control our altitude. Now so far we've just flown with just a little bit pitch forward, and we've already mastered flying at this pitch and controlling our throttle. But what happens when you pitch a little bit more forward is that one, you're going to have to put in a little bit more throttle just to maintain altitude, because some of the air that's coming out from your propellers is now, instead of pushing your drone up, it's pushing your drone forward. But what this also means is that your drone is going to be flying forward much faster, but you're also going to have to put in a lot more throttle just to maintain steady flight.
Alright, so I do hope you enjoyed this video and the drills moving your quad forward. And if you're doing this for the first time, you might have been surprised that it's not as easy as it looks. So I do recommend that you do these drills as often as you need. Maybe, you know, spend like 5 packs to 10 packs. Or if you're doing this on a simulator, for sure you're going to be, you know, spending at least 30 minutes to an hour just doing these forward and backward forward movements, and then just doing this over and over. Now it can get repetitive and can get boring, but trust me, it's gonna pay off. Alright, so do stay tuned, because in the next episode we're going to be doing turns. Alright, so in the meantime, keep building and keep flying.